All right, we're gonna check out Aesop Rock's "Pay the Man." Um, I'm choosing this song because I haven't heard it yet, and it has a music video that was released this week. So I'm gonna raw dog it. I'm not gonna look at the lyrics, which I did listen to the first three songs on this album, and immediately had to turn it off because I knew I wasn't in the mental headspace to be able to analyze the lyrics in any effective way. So I think this is a song that's much later on the track list of I Heard It's a Mess Here Too. So a little bit out of order because I haven't digested or even really started a deep dive into this album. But I'm gonna give this an honest listen. I'm just gonna watch the video, take it in, but we'll see how this new Aesop "Pay the Man" comes out. Let's see. I also didn't want to read the lyrics because I figured the video would have relevance. Hold on, let me dive in. I love this beat.
Ding dong, king of all things wrong. Swinging through the jungle gym, something else's skin on. Melted butter, king prawn, drinking from the dog's bowl. Doobie at the dog park, ninja at the log roll. Ralph on keys, house on a haunted hill. Go a couple rounds in the bull pit. Trolling where the map is black, attracted to the lawlessness. Back and forth and back, I'm tracking y'all marauders in. Black flag, flyer, rag, tag, attire, snack bag. Cat dad, stay away from crack and all that jazz. Hair like crabgrass, spine made of butter. Got my nose from my mother. My eyes change colors. The energy that cannot be contained by paint by numbers. Cannot be restrained with basic nails and lumber. I get the shutter shaken. The fun is taking power from the nobles and returning home to share with other Powerball hopefuls. I'm on the front porch about facing bannermen. Manners that are mad as hell, it also takes animal.
I mean, Aesop's on another level, but I got to admit this is dense. Also, are we calling this a music video? This feels more like what someone might describe as like a visualizer. Like it's not. It's like an animation. There's things happening, but would I go as far as to call this a music video? I guess. We'll see. Maybe it changes. I do kind of like what I think the video is representing. Again, we'll see if anything else happens here, but kind of like the animals coming across, this cigarette burning. It kind of feels like this radio represents Aesop in the way that he's like enclosed, isolated on the ground, but he's able to send out a signal and he's able to send out these sound waves, which you can see here, you know, these like sound waves that he's able to send off, um, to be able to inform people of what is his perception, um, from inside his little bubble, his little enclosed space inside of this radio that he's transmitting from. I think it speaks to a lot of what Aesop is. I said this when I listened to the Complications record with Billy Woods, where he's very notably isolated, and his music all has that feeling of like, I don't want to go outside. I don't want to tour. I don't want to interact with nobody. I just want to be at home, make music that gives me some sort of peace in what is an incredibly chaotic world. And I maybe got one or two lines out of this song so far, but it certainly feels like that's the vibe that's being presented here as well. Is this vibe of isolation and this fed upness with the system and society as a whole, so much that he's going to isolate himself. It also kind of feels, and this is probably too much analysis, but it also kind of feels like we're in a, Aesop does this a lot, where we're like in a scene. It starts off with ding dong, king of all things wrong. It almost feels like we're starting like at someone's doorstep, or where, you know, we've adventured out and we're knocking on someone's door, ringing on someone's door, and this is all kind of happening in his mind while he's waiting on the door to be answered. I could be totally wrong about that, but Aesop is like so dense in where there is things happening, there is a story happening, but so much of it is really densely describing the scene and really densely describing his thoughts. So I'm just gonna play it through. This video's still going on, so we'll play this the whole way through. But in full disclosure, I've caught like 2 lines of this very, very Aesop style song.
Dirty birds, bad dogs, trash cans. So that matters hell, it also takes animals in. Dirty birds, bad dogs, trash cans, lab chimps, hanging trespassers by the ankles. Thanks management, inventor of the artificial rose, squirting water from the pocket up the party goer's nose. Fly inside an ice cube, disappearing pen ink, cobras in the mix nuts. This guy's thought of everything. There's more about.
Okay, I like that. Like, I'm the one who's gonna trick everybody else. Like, you can see it, you know, the artificial rose spraying water out like a clown thingy, little lapel. That's I dig that. You can very much see that. That's cool.
Management, inventor of the artificial rose, squirting water from the pocket up the party goer's nose. Fly inside an ice cube, disappearing pen ink, cobras in the mix nuts. This guy's thought of everything. There's more of everything, well, there's less rescuing. Everything else in abundance. Get you a second come up and sold at the press of a button. Something to quell the gumption. Y'all headed for self-destruction. End of discussion.
Yeah.
Get well, or welcome to utterly unwelcome. The Norman Rockwell that went Orwellian in seconds. Now the normals need a network of lenses with motion sensors and hold their camera phones like loaded weapons. Oh heavens.
I'm trying to avoid pausing it too much, but there was a lot that Norman Rockwell line was. Wow, that was a line. Okay, hold on. I'm gonna try to avoid stopping this and just play the thing through, but I gotta hear that again.
Or welcome to utterly unwelcome. The Norman.
It says get well or welcome to utterly unwelcome.
Rockwell that went Orwellian in seconds. Now the normals need a network of lenses with motion sensors and hold their camera phones like loaded weapons. Oh heavens. Out here where it's out there.
Yeah, this is very critical of society as a whole. How people lift their phones up as weapons, like in conflict, they just pull their phone out and start recording. He said Norman Rockwell that went Orwellian in seconds.
Get well, or welcome to utterly unwelcome. The Norman Rockwell that went Orwellian in seconds. Now the normals need a network of lenses with motion sensors and hold their camera phones like loaded weapons. Oh heavens. Out here where it's out there. My head up in the clouds, how's the weather down there? Foul air filtered through a crew neck pulled up. 1,000 airs hanging out a full-length school bus on a full tank. Fools like who the fuck, me the fuck. People throwing TVs, other speaking tongues, freaky stuff. Apricot.
The whole thing was cool. How the fish get in here, though? I like the weeds coming up, but the fish? How'd the fish get in this scene? Hold on. The fish distracted me. Let me go back a second.
On a full tank, fools like who the fuck, me the fuck. People throwing TVs, other speaking tongues, freaky stuff. Apricot foot, peel booties on. Oatmeal hair mask, breakfast scented moonwalk. Oatmeal Air Max, float across the catwalk in rare form. Pageant wave mistaken for a bear attack. Leaving tacks on a chair and floor. So there's that. I could throw a playing card that land between your praying hands. Matter of fact, open up, holy fuck, pay the man.
I love that beat too. I feel like this is Aesop Rock produced. I'd be willing to bet that Aesop produced this. This is very much his production style. And the couple of songs that I had heard off of this album before I listened to this just now is also felt very Aesop beats. I think it was Crystals and Herbs that I heard, which has a similar vibe to this. It feels very similar. Hold on, I want to hear the end of that because I do kind of feel I got lost a bit, but I do kind of feel like it was something similar to what I was saying earlier about this kind of very short scene of him just waiting for a door to be answered, and then at the end we come back to that scene where he says open up, pay the man. So I wonder if he is somewhere. I might there might be context in the rest of the album that I don't know because I haven't heard this album in its entirety.
Card that land between your praying hands. Matter of fact, open up, holy fuck, pay the man. Son of chair and floor. So there's that. I could throw a playing card that land between your praying hands. Matter of fact, open up, holy fuck, pay the man.
I like that the bat is the final scene of that. I don't know what kind of relevance that has. Like if we're transitioning into like nighttime when bats would be most active, but I do kind of like that that's the ending scene. Still confused on the fish. Someone explain the fish to me. Man, I am going to have to look at the lyrics to that. I do want to listen to it again. And I do kind of want to watch the video again. It doesn't seem like there was a ton of messaging in the video because it did sort of feel like a visualizer. But holy cow, man. I mean, Aesop is as good as ever. His flow is just nasty. Let's see. I pulled the lyrics up. See if I can zoom this in so people can read this. Okay. This album's been out for 3 weeks and there are no annotations in Genius, which might be a sign that no one's even took a stab at trying to analyze this. At a first glance, it does feel it's very with the traditional messaging that we've been getting from Aesop with his previous record. I think it came out last year, the Black Hole Superette. Had a very similar vibe to this. This is like a EP or an album that also has this very isolated, I'm not going to interact with society kind of vibe, and that was definitely the vibe on Crystals and Herbs that I had heard. So let me just take a stab here at these lyrics here. So, God, and I'll tell you what, the way he's able to fit words and flow, even if you don't know what he's saying, you can enjoy the music because it's so rhythmic and his vocals are just so perfectly connected to where he expertly uses every syllable in a rhyme scheme. All right. Prepare for me to look like an idiot trying to analyze Aesop Rock. I do love Aesop. I think I prefer Aesop when he's a tad more approachable, like The Impossible Kid, for example, Skeleton. I felt like those albums, I was really able to gauge what we were telling, the story we were telling, off of the first listen or second listen. And then if you want to dive deeper into the lines, you can try to gather some meaning from those. But I can just tell by the lack of Genius annotations that this one is probably a little bit of a puzzle. But I do think there was some hints in the video there, in that radio thing happening, that little almost like enclosure on the radio of where I can imagine Aesop feels that he is. Let's see here. Ding dong, king of all things wrong, swinging through the jungle gym, something else's skin on. Melted butter, king prawn, drinking from the dog's bowl, doobie at the dog park, ninja at the log roll. It even sounds just cool to say. I like that, man. It sounds so good. I can imagine the ninja at the log roll feels like the American Ninja Warrior thing, where it's again, like doobie at the dog park kind of feels that way too, where it's like it's an obstacle course. Just like a jungle gym. So he's going through this jungle gym where you could effectively lose at any moment. go a couple rounds in the ball pit, trawling where the map is black, attracted to the lawlessness. I guess that's kind of saying he's on the wrong side of town. Back and forth and back. I'm tracking y'all marauders in. Black flag, fire, ragtag attire, snack bag, cat dad, stay away from crack and all that jazz. Yeah, it kind of feels like he has an affinity for grimier neighborhoods. Like that's where he's comfortable. He's comfortable in, the back streets of New York or whatever. But he likes to stay quiet with his cats. Spine made of butter, got my nose from my mother, my eyes change colors. The energy that cannot be contained by paint by numbers. I love that too. I feel like I've heard Aesop reference paint by numbers before. But again, I mean, it has this same vibe of, I am my own person, and I'm adaptable, and also I'm unique in a way that, you can't box me into one style. Like you can't define me, and you can't put me in a box, so to say. Cannot be restrained with basic nails and lumber. I get the shutter shaking. The fun is taking power from the nobles. I really liked this line when I heard it the first time. I didn't catch the setup line. The fun is taking power from the nobles and returning home to share with other Powerball hopefuls. That's a cool line. In the sense that it feels... Yeah, and it kind of feels like it's tying into the next line too. I get the shutter shaking. The fun is taking power from the nobles and returning home to share with other Powerball hopefuls. I'm on the porch about facing Bannerman. Bannerman's also kind of like a synonym to nobles. Bannerman being like the ruling class, nobles being like the ruling class. And he's saying the fun is taking power from them. And then returning home to share that power with people who have none. Powerball hopefuls. All we have our hopes in is the lottery. And I'm on the front porch, openly dismissing, about facing. So literally facing the opposite way against the ruling class. Like, I will not be held down. Manners of the mad as hell, who also takes animals in. Dirty birds, bad dogs, trash cats, lab chimps, hanging trespassers by the ankles. Thanks management. Kind of also feels like we're in this like isolation state, and also just like a big middle finger to the system that Aesop will throw in. Oh, we got. I did like that line when I heard it. I'm not going to click the annotation. I want to see my thoughts first, and then see what anyone else says. And then this kind of like also spitting in the face of the ruling class, right? What my invention is, like, this could be music or not, but what I provide society, what I provide the people, is that middle finger. I'm the inventor of the artificial rose, squirting water from the pocket up the party goer's nose. Fly inside an ice cube, disappearing pen ink, cobras in the mixed nuts. This guy's thought of everything. I love that. I love that in the way that, like, I feel like he's just adding that exclamation point to this, like, I will not be told what to do, and I will openly mock you as well. Everything else in abundance gets you a second comeuppance. All at the press of a button, something to quell the gumption. I have to Google gumption. Man, that means like ruckus. Y'all headed for self-destruction. End of discussion. Get well or welcome to the utterly unwelcome. Yeah. I would generally agree that society as a whole is headed for self-destruction. And there's probably not a lot of debate there. The Norman Rockwell that went Orwellian in seconds. So Norman Rockwell is that painter who made, I think he's like an early 1900s painter, or maybe like later than that, maybe like 40s or 50s. But it was always this art that um, reflected on what the American dream was. This like dog in the front porch, white picket fence. Norman Rockwell presented what many of us visualize as the American dream, and Orwellian. Obviously, George Orwell, 1984, probably his most known, but he has multiple novels which discuss effectively what is the end of human society and what ends up becoming a surveillance state, in that like being where we end up. And I think there's a lot of reasons to feel like we're in an Orwellian age, and I can see where that could be reflected. Uh, Dystopian's a good way to put that. Yeah, yeah. I wouldn't even go as far as to say it's trusting the system, um, but just the individual's view of the American dream. Like we all kind of had it and believed that it was possible, and I think now people's cynicism has taken over, recognizing the fact that everything is already bought and sold, and anything you can get is just going to be crumbs of what's left, which is the more Orwellian perspective of things, is that the world is already taken. All the all the infrastructure's been built with you excluded, um, and Aesop's kind of finding his piece in that. Now the normals need a network of lenses with motion sensors and hold their camera phones like loaded weapons. Oh heavens! Yeah, I like that too. Yeah, so they've effectively made you dependent uh, on those surveillance items. They've made you dependent on this network of lenses with motion sensors. Um, and then again, when I first heard it, the camera phones like loaded weapons. That's a very relevant bar. Um, Out here where it's out there, my head up in the clouds. How's the weather down there? Foul air filtered through a crew neck pulled up. Foul air filtered. So he like keeps his shirt over his head so much that he's just breathing in his own air. Thousand airs hanging out a full length school bus. I don't even recall hearing this line. Thousand airs hanging out a full length school bus on a full tank. Fool's like, who the fuck? Me the fuck. That sounds hilarious. There was a few like comedic moments in the song that I heard, and I literally don't recall hearing that.
Hanging out a full length school neck pulled up, thousand air.
Hey, shout out me finding the exact spot, like on the dot. So much that I had to go back a tad to hear the beginning of the line. All right, all right, all right, all right, all right. Let's go.
Filtered through a crew neck pulled up, thousand airs hanging out a full length school bus on a full tank. Fools like who the fuck, me the fuck. People throwing TVs, other speaking tongues, freaky stuff. Apricot foot, peel booties on. Oatmeal hair mask, breakfast scented moonwalk. Oatmeal Air Max, float across the catwalk in rare form. Pageant wave mistaken for a bear attack. Leaving tacks on a chair and floor. So there's that. I could throw a playing card that land between your praying hands. Matter of fact, open up, holy fuck, pay the man.
I know it's not in the same avenue, but what this kind of reminds me of is Aesop's song Dog at the Door, where like the whole song is him being paranoid from hearing like the smallest sound outside, and he keeps being like, I'm sure it was nothing, it might have just been like a... All right, my microphone just decided to go out. So, all right. What I was saying is that this reminded me of Dog at the Door, which again is like him hearing and being paranoid of the things going on outside, while he just remains inside, saying that everything is a trap. And this kind of feels not necessarily the same, but also if something is out to get him, he's the trickster. He's gonna get them. So like he's untouchable in the way that if he just doesn't interact with society or with people or whoever it is knocking on the door, whether it be, whatever this pay the man is. So, like, whether it's the rent itself, whether it's taxes, whether it's whatever he needs to buy, um, he's gonna get the last laugh, as will anybody who is listening to this frequency of like you can only really laugh at the place where we are. And this is kind of Aesop resigning to the fact that he in the end is not going to play by the rules, um, but he is, because he's gonna pay the man. So now I'm trying to figure out if this ding dong is him or if it's something else. Like if it is like dog at the door, and he's saying ding dong, things of all king of all things wrong, is he saying, oh, what's coming for me is all of these things, or is it the opposite where he's at the door and then he's telling whoever's on the other side, holy fuck, pay the man. I think there's a lot of ways to interpret it. At the end of the day, the way I hear this is Aesop in his kind of expected state of isolationism, followed with his openly mocking of the system in society and the fools who, think they have it figured out. And Aesop has it figured out in his own way. He's content. He makes this music. He's away from people. And I mean, was I a little worried for Aesop listening to Complications with Woods? Yeah, probably. Um, and even in Crystal, again, I think I heard up to Full House Pinball. And about halfway through Full House Pinball, I decided that I was not ready mentally to take in this entire Aesop Rock record because it's a lot. And I'm kind of glad that I listened to Pay the Man now. I will probably revisit Crystals and Herbs. I really like that. I recall it being pretty short, like it was just one long verse or maybe two quick verses, but it was a pretty short song. The Cut, Full House Pinball, all very cool, very Aesop rock type production, which I enjoy. I'd be willing, yeah, okay, produced by Aesop Rock. Yeah, I'd be willing to bet that this entire album is produced by Aesop Rock just off the 4 songs that I've heard so far. Um, but I love it. I mean, I love this kind of music. Like, I love Aesop Rock. I wouldn't go as far as to say that he's my favorite rapper in this lane. Sometimes because he is a bit too complex, and I feel like I'm willing to do the work and dive in and try to understand the lyrics one by one, but sometimes it is very abstract because he's describing so many things that are effectively just synonyms of each other. Like, even all this, like, it sounds cool, but this is just the animals he's taking in: dirty birds, bad dogs, trash cats, lap chips. It's a little bit of a joke, but even this line, they're kind of all saying the same thing, but in its own clever way. Like, these are all ways to say, the way that you would trick somebody, the way that you would do a practical joke, getting the best of someone, making them look like a fool. This is all of those things. It's like this kind of like magic mixed with uh, just making a fool out of someone. Like, that's where the magic and the comedy comes from. Um, so it's a lot of information that sometimes leads to just one thought, even if that thought is in there. The statement's made right before that, and the rest is just synonyms to highlight the line. It sounds incredible. Aesop always sounds incredible. Looking forward to getting into the rest of this. I'll probably have to like sit down and really try to take it in. I'm expecting based on what I've heard, I'm expecting this to sound similar to Black Hole Super Red, and it's just really freaking good in how perfect every syllable sounds. But when it's all said and done, I'm at a little bit of a loss because it's hard for me to really understand Aesop when he's this um, symbolic and less direct. In fact, it reminds me of that Aesop song where he's in therapy and the therapist says to him, when you start getting all expressive and symbolic, it's impossible to actualize an honest diagnostic. I've heard that song like 1,000 times. It's Shrunk. Shrunk is the name of that song. It reminds me of that lyric where it is very expressive and symbolic and it's hard to gather meaning. I understand that criticism from Aesop's therapist when we start diving in this deep. Because Shrunk itself and the Impossible Kid as a whole, I felt like was very digestible. And when we start doing this, it becomes more complex. I think it's reflective in the lack of genius annotations. No one wants to take a stab. But anyway, that was my stab. I love it. I see it as like a very solid middle finger saying, this is where I live. I'm comfortable in my environment, even though I ain't comfortable around any of y'all, and I don't trust any power, and I'm gonna get the last laugh. And I'm sure that has relevance somewhere in the album. So, just the first listen. I'll probably listen to this again, but I will not bore the 20 viewers who watch this. Overall, fantastic Aesop song. I'm gonna listen to this whole thing. Shout out Rompadump for the suggestion to get into this. I know this wasn't one of the 3 songs that you listed in the comments, but it was the one I saw with a music video and the newest. I will be sure to check out. I think it was Opossum, Full House Pinball, and maybe Spin to Win. I feel like I had heard Full House Pinball. Which one was the one with the sample where it's like, it's a mess out here? Whatever that sample was. I liked that. I liked that song. It was a vibe. So, honestly, every part of this album I've heard so far has been a vibe. Shout out Rompadump for the suggestion. Appreciate everybody who's out there listening, taking in Aesop. Hey, take Aesop, man. Take care of yourself, bro. We're huge fans of this. Everybody loves it, even if we can't put it into the perfect words. I love it, and I love that Aesop's an animal person. I think you can see my puppy right there. All right, puppy time. That's my little Doberman. Anyway, hope everybody's doing good. Take care of yourself. Take care of each other. Um, all love. Happy holidays. See you on the next one.